Reppin' Philly ain't a choice, it's a way of life. PhillyGoat.com is your one stop shop for Philly pride. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off. Look fresh, stay Philly, Philly Goat. Go Birds. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Brotherly Birds breakdown for Week 15. The Las Vegas Raiders. Almost said Oakland, but it's the Las Vegas Raiders. LV for all you LV people out there. We are the Montgomery brothers. I'm Jim.
I'm Kyle.
So,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do we even start with that game?
I mean, look, as bad as it was, they still had an opportunity to win. I think let's address the elephant in the room. Why do you pass on first down from the 17?
No
Why?
clue.
Why do you pass in that situation?
And to add to that, why was Jahan Dotson the target on that? Especially when you had Goddard right there underneath. It would have been like a 3-4 yard gain. But if you're going to pass, take a safe pass, especially when you've been turning the ball over all game.
Right. And look, let's not discredit the secondary of the Chargers. They made a hell of a play on that.
That was
that
a great
tip,
play.
Like it reached back across his body to tip that, and the other guy kept his feet in bounds and he practiced the tip drill since we were little kids. You know what I mean? Like, so kudos to them for that. But yeah, horrible play call, horrible play selection in that situation. And look, you're right. They were turning the ball over all night. So you knew that the pass offense was shaky. Having said that, and we'll get into it, let's talk about AJ. You run your mouth and you kind of stir the pot and stir all this drama. You got your stats 3 weeks in a row. They have 3 losses in a row. On top of that, you dropped 3 passes. One, you alligator armed in the for who, for what style, because you didn't want to get your ass.
That's immediately who I thought of.
I said it here, and Trey looked at me. I was like, you might not know it, but I'll explain the Ricky Waters thing to you. So, he's like an adopted son at this point. He doesn't get it, but he will. He'll understand that. And then the first play of the game, it looked like he just stopped. It looked like he just stopped and gave up on the route, and it dropped right by his hand. So I don't understand that one. But the touchdown is what kills me. The touchdown is really what kills you. You clamor about, you go on Twitch and say that you're not happy, this and that. That's a play you have to make. You're making $30 million a year and you say that you're always open and people are like, oh, that was a great defensive play. Bullshit. He's made those catches thousands of times in his career. I guarantee it. Hundreds of times. And he's made those catches 15 times for a touchdown in an Eagles uniform where
I've seen
somebody slapped. I've witnessed it. Yes. So he's got to be better. That was Jalen's second best throw of the night. The dime there. The best throw he made all night was that dot that he threw in overtime to Devontae Smith. I mean, that was a missile. That was a missile. That was a tight window. Great throw. So, for all the haters out there, he can still do that too. So 2 of his interceptions were tipped. Just throwing that out there.
And I mean, and I will say the fumble was just a fluky play. Like, it is what it is. But like, I will say, I'll get back to AJ in a minute. But the interception to the lineman was like absolutely ridiculous. Like, I saw that coming from a mile away. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you'll have games like this. And as far as AJ, yes, the drops were bad. More importantly, he missed at least 3 blocks on Saquon's runs that I don't think any of them necessarily would have broken for a touchdown, but you could have gotten 5 to 10 yards. And the one, he was just like, oh, the play's behind me. And like the first one. And it's just like, you did not play your best game. Now, to his credit, he did take accountability and said he needs to make that. But where was this 2 weeks ago when you're
No, where was this in week 5? Where was this in week
right?
5 when you're clamoring and acting like a spoiled little kid that didn't get a toy at Christmas? Like, where are you at in that regard taking accountability instead of being a little prick about it? And look, I love AJ, but his behavior this year is obviously inexcusable, and I think we're going to have the same type of situation with AJ Brown that we're having with the Phillies with Nick Castellanos. It's going to be how he's going to talk to him and be like, "Look, I think a change of scenery is probably going to be best for both of us." Simple as
Yeah,
that.
no, I mean, for the first time, I actually could see it, and the worst part is, I feel like he's realizing now that all of his whatever or whoever he was bitching at isn't necessarily it was misplaced or displaced, however you want to describe it.
Yep.
Because I
Yep.
think he's realizing, like, how many times did he say, "Oh, me and KP talk all the time. Me and KP." I think a lot of this might fall on KP, and
Yeah,
he
I agree.
actually stuck up for Jalen in that same interview. He was like, "No, it's all of us. You can't put that." And which, where was that week 5 when everybody's saying this, when you could have squashed all of this? Like, I'm not saying the Eagles would have played differently,
Yep.
but you could have squashed and put to bed a lot of those rumors if that interview he had after that game was 8 weeks ago.
Right, and here's the thing too, on the interception that he alligator armed across the middle. If you go back and look at the film, because I saw it on Twitter and I think Acho even showed it, I don't know that that ball was meant for AJ because this is how dumb Patullo is with his route running. How many times do we see receivers in the same spot? All the
All
time.
the time.
Well, AJ was running that 15-yard cross route. Devontae was 5 to 7 yards behind him running the opposite cross route. If AJ doesn't touch that ball, that's a 25-yard gain to Devontae. That's a perfectly thrown ball to Devontae. So maybe it wasn't meant for him. We're never going to know, and it doesn't
No.
matter now because the game's over. But like when you see that stuff, and like that's the stuff that you see in Twitter. You see it on all these keyboard warriors. They're like, oh, he missed an open receiver. Yeah, you can stop. We talked about this for weeks now. You can pinpoint and screenshot any game, any quarterback, and go, oh, he was standing there and he missed an open receiver. It doesn't tell you like. Also, in that same screenshot, you see that there's an unblocked like Chargers defenseman coming
In
right
his
for him.
face. Yeah.
So, yeah, he missed the open receiver because he was running for his life. Because our offensive line, again, played like Swiss cheese, except Jordan Mailata on the left side of the line. When we run off tackle, it's amazing what happens when we actually run off tackle.
They actually looked
Amazing,
like
isn't
they
it?
could run the ball. It was crazy. I
And
will
then and
give
then
the
we go,
offense.
hey, let's run it up the middle. Let's run it up
Yeah.
the middle after we have success off tackle. Why not run the H back dive?
Yeah. I will give the offensive line some credit, though. Like, yes, they got there was pressure on Jalen, but I think overall, from a pass blocking perspective, they played pretty well. And I mean, you mentioned Acho, and usually I don't agree with a lot of the things he says, but the way he broke down the film, he showed a couple times Jalen did make mistakes. So I think we're at a point now where you see what Jalen can do when he's on. You can see what the line can do. You can see what AJ can do. They're not executing, and at some point, like I feel like I've gone back and forth on this, but I feel like at this point, the consistency of the lack of execution has to be on the coaches. And you can say all you want. Well, the players need to do this, that, and the other. But like, at what point, when you have, to your point, two guys standing in the same spot, the receivers on every, I shouldn't say every, but it seems like the receivers all kind of run the same route on the same play, which,
Mm-hmm.
okay. Like, so especially if they're playing zone, you have four guys across the field with a defender there for each one. And it's like you
Yep.
need to mix that up. And I think that's what AJ was doing on that cross when everybody else was running the same thing. I don't think he was supposed to do that. I think he was just like, I see something, and maybe didn't communicate it to Jalen right.
Yeah, and look, I mean, did they have some success throwing it over the middle? Yeah, but that was where the quick passes over the middle. When
Yes.
they sit in that pocket and then they let the defense understand what he's doing, he throws it over the middle, and that's not good when you throw it into traffic after 3 to 5 seconds. You have to be quick over the middle with the either like some of the best passes that he ever throws is those quick slants to AJ that AJ breaks for 15 yards right across the middle. Same
Yep.
thing with Dallas Goedert. When he throws them to Dallas Goedert, that crossing route right over the middle, boom. It's 10 to 15 yards every time. I just don't understand why they think that it's okay to sit there for 3 to 5 seconds and then throw it over the middle, while you let that defense kind of key on you, turn around and watch your every move, and he doesn't look anybody off. And it's hard to look anybody off when everybody's sitting there doing the exact same thing.
Right.
You know what I
Nobody
mean? Where are you
moves.
going to look? Yeah, you're not going to look anywhere because no matter where you look, like all three receivers are standing next to each other. So I don't know. It's that's to your point. The execution does fall on the players to execute what's called. But having said that, they are executing what's called. It's just shitty calls sometimes.
Right.
It's bad plays. It's bad play calling. It's like when we used to play Nerf football in the backyard and we go, all right, look, you go this, you do this, draw it up.
You go to the
That
swing
would
set.
even, right. That would even be better because we even knew when we're 7 and 8 years old doing that in the backyard, you don't
s-
put everybody in the same
Spread it
spot, spread
out.
out. Right.
Yes.
Put everybody in man coverage one on one. When it's one on one and you don't have that other person playing over there, it takes your risk away, right? Then the
Yeah.
defense has to make a play, just like they did in that last play in overtime. They made a play,
That was
so you can't
yeah.
take anything away from them. You know?
No, I mean, and maybe we've been saying, oh, they should have left the playbook. Maybe they give one of those Nerf footballs. Like Thatcher has one of those ESPN footballs
That has the
that
plays on
has
them. Yeah,
all the different routes on it. It's like, all right,
right,
AJ, you do this. Devontae, you do this, but to that side.
right, right. And then, oh, guess what? We can turn the football around and just make
And
it
there's
on the
more
opposite
plays.
side. Yeah, exactly. It's insane. It's absolutely insane.
No, but I mean, and I did hear Jason Avant today, which I really like, not just because he went to Michigan, but um, he was saying, he was like, I am a receiver. He was like, all three of those passes that AJ dropped were catchable. He said, I never had a coach any level that would have looked at the replays and looked at that film and said, okay, that was a tough. No, all three of them should have been caught.
If you have your hands on it, you catch it. Like that's what they always say. If a receiver has his hands on the ball, you catch it, right? So it is
Yeah,
what it is. Like, he had 3 drops. They weren't great defensive plays. He had 3 drops, and 2 of those drops were in crucial moments, and one of them led to a turnover. So, you know, it's just and if you notice the last 3 weeks, he's got his yards. They kind of forgot that Devontae Smith even plays on the team.
but
So you got
Devontae's
Devontae
not.
Smith. He's not being pissed off. He's going out there buying a juicer and talking about squeezing fruit. You see that interview?
I did.
That was great. That was that, and that's why I can see them getting rid of AJ and just parting ways and keeping a guy like Smitty because Smitty's just down to earth and like we just do what we got to do to win, and he gets it. He gets that winning's the main
Right.
thing, and we've said it when the Eagles were 8-2 and we were sitting here in a great spot. We said, look, and everybody was ripping Hurts then. Not Philly fans. It was the national media and like all these other pundits
Diana
were
Rossini,
ripping her.
Chris
Correct.
Sims.
And what do you and I say? Stats are great, wins are better. Now, guess what? Now you got the stats. AJ got the stats. Nobody else has the
Nobody
stats.
else is
AJ
getting it.
has the stats, and nobody has the wins either. So I love the fact that when Jalen Hurts plays well and they win, it's a team sport. The team helped him
Well,
win.
look
But
at
when
the
he
team
loses,
around him.
oh, he sucks. He sucks. He's the worst quarterback. Bench him because they lost. Oh, so in wins it's a team sport, but in losses it's individual, right? It's all on the
Right.
quarterback at that point. It's horseshit. It's absolute horseshit, is what it is.
Which to me, I'm fine with it if you're going to be consistent about it. If you're going to say Jalen's a Super Bowl MVP, they're 8-2, he's doing whatever to win, that's fine. But give it to okay, they lost 3 in a row. That's on Jalen. But don't, like you said, like, oh, well, look at the talent around him. And then when that talent's not doing what they should be doing in the losses, blame it on Jalen.
Yep. Yeah, you got to be consistent. You got to be consistent. And look, I just at the end of the day, they throwing the ball. We talked about this plenty of times already. Throwing the ball 40 times in the NFL as a whole is not a recipe to win, especially for this Eagles team. The the 28 to 32 is like the max that you need to throw the ball because
Right.
then that means that your offense is balanced. If you're throwing the ball 40 times, your offense is not balanced and you're not doing what you should be doing. And Kevin Patullo or Nick Sirianni, whoever the hell's calling the plays, have just kind of demonstrated the Andy Reid methodology of, oh, we ran the ball once and we got no gain. That's it. We're done. We're not doing it anymore. For what? Stop running the ball straight up the middle behind Jurgens. He's the weakest part of your offensive line. Jurgens and Steen. Why do we run behind them? That's like, from playing back at South Brandywine. We always ran outside with a pulling guard because up the middle, our
I was the
center always
pulling
got
guard.
hammered.
Trust me.
So was
I
I.
was the pulling
Absolutely.
guard.
So you do that because you put your running back in space and great things happen. Look at the home run that he hit on Monday night. Got him in space. Look what happens. It's amazing. Saquon hasn't lost a step. He's still fast as hell. I
Right.
think they said he clocked at like 22 miles an hour or something on that run.
But you got to give him the ball in order to do that. And we were talking during the game, and I saw the official stats on this. Saquon ran the ball 16 times in the first half, had some success, but there were some when they ran him up the middle that it was a little bit boxed in. And then he broke the one. Sure, it was on a trick play, but he still was able to break it. That was one of 4 runs that he had in the second half, to your point.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why go away from it? Because that was the recipe that worked last year. Like, if you remember, I shouldn't say all, most of Saquon's long home runs were in the second half after they
Yes.
had been pounding it all game and wearing that team down and then being selective with the passes. And
Yep.
you're not going to wear them down if you're not running. Those guys were licking their chops, teeing off on every play.
Well, and here's the other thing, right? And again, we talked about this, but it's good to keep bringing it back up so it's fresh and everybody top of mind for everybody, right? So you and I have watched sports our whole life, so we can look at a game and kind of predetermine what's going to happen, right? But if we can do that based on the formation, what do you think a defensive coordinator, this is their job to watch
Who've been
hours
around
of
the game.
film, right? So like if we know they're lining up in the shotgun when Saquon's on his left, it's a run up the middle. When Saquon's on his right, it's going to be a pitch outside. If we know that, what do you think the defensive coordinator knows? So they know that they can stack the box. When we put Will Shipley in, they're not running the ball. They know that too. So
Yeah.
like if we know it, they know it. And I'm dumbfounded at the fact that like we haven't changed that up. We ran it one time in the Monday night game where there was 2 running backs in the backfield at the same time. It was Tank and Saquon. Tank actually made an appearance, so it was great that we
Forgot
traded
he
for
was on
him
the
to make an
team.
appearance. Yeah. But I don't understand why they don't do that more. You got 2 guys that obviously can get 5 yards a clip if you put them in the right situation, and we just no, we're gonna be very telling, and we might as well just tell the defense what we're running at that point. You know?
Yeah. And well, I mean, how many teams this year have said they knew what was coming?
Yeah.
So
I mean, when you only run like 10 to 15 different formations, it's not a hard study week for the defense. It's
no,
not.
it's
I
like
mean, like think about it from like a school perspective. If you have a 10 question pop quiz as opposed to a 100 question pop quiz, which one's an easier one to study? It's
10.
easier to study for the 10
Yeah.
question one, right? So that's exactly what they're doing. They're lining up in 10 to 15 different formations throughout the whole game. Think about that, right? If you run 60 offensive plays, 1/6, like every 10 plays, you're changing a formation basically. They're gonna know what's coming. And it's not like they're running 15 different plays from a formation. They're running 3 different plays from the same formation.
Maybe
That's it.
3.
Maybe, maybe where okay on this side we put AJ. Now the next time we're in this formation, we're gonna put him on this side. And have you noticed
We'll get them this time.
the only 2 people that ever go in motion are Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert ever. That's it, ever. The only other time is when Saquon lines up wide and he comes back to stand next to Jalen. That's it. Nobody else
Yeah.
goes in motion. For what? Like, why doesn't AJ go in motion? He loves moving pre-snap and getting false start penalties. Put him in motion.
But and I guess it's even worse that he jumps because it's like you never go in motion. So what are you even jumping for?
Right. Like they know you don't go in motion. It's just crazy to me. And the mismatch that he could provide if he does go in motion, I don't know.
I'd rather him go
Like
in motion than Devontae.
100%. 100%. And like if we're saying it and if we're seeing it, these guys are getting paid millions of dollars as coordinators and coaches, and they've been around the game a lot longer than we have. And this is their job on a daily basis. Like we do this weekly, right? And we do it for 8 months out of the year, 6 months out of the year, really. But like we get ready for it. We talk about it after the
Yeah,
fact. But like 8 months out of the year is really what they do it for a whole year. Like this is their full time job. We have full time jobs, and we can still do it better than what they can do it right now. That's scary.
it is. And I mean, and I guess despite all that, they were still in a position to win that game. And as some of the you can put some of the blame on Petula, you can put some on the blocks. I have to put a large portion of that on Jalen, though. And I think 5 turnovers is an anomaly. That's you're never going to see that again. In fact, it's the first time in Eagles history that's ever happened. But I still think from an overall perspective, I think he needs to take a lion's share of the blame just based on the way
He
he
does.
played. And
And he did.
just think if he makes one more of those throws, the Eagles win that game. That's how, I guess, small the difference is between winning and losing is in the NFL. They say it's a game of inches, but like
Mm-hmm.
one more throw and they still win the game despite Jalen playing his worst game as a pro. The mistakes that AJ made, the holding calls in bad times, the poor play calling, and they're still this close. I think to me that's what's more frustrating than the fact they lost. The fact that they're not getting blown out of any of these games. The only game they got
Right.
blown out of was the Giants game, and that's because they got punched in the mouth, and they were still in that game until a deflating
Second half.
turnover
Yeah.
late.
Yep. Yep. Look, this is I know this probably isn't the time that we had allotted for this, but you brought up his worst game and the 5 turnovers. So this is the perfect time for me to just kind of segue into my 2 cents, right? So first and foremost, my 2 cents is about Jalen Hurts this week. So Jalen Hurts, this is his first bad game of this nature in his career, right? It doesn't define who he is, doesn't define him as a player, it doesn't define his legacy, right? So I did a little thinking, and I just want to clarify and preface this real quick. I am not in any way, shape, or form putting Jalen in this category with these quarterbacks I'm about ready to mention. I'm simply going to prove a point, and it'll all get a bow tied to it at the end.
Patience.
Um, Tom Brady, greatest quarterback of all time, right? You know how many 4 interception games he had? 6 in his career. 6. 2001, 2002, 2004, 2005, 2006. That's almost one a year for the first like 5 or 6 years he was a starter. And New England won Super Bowls. Do you think they were trying to bench him? Do you think they were trying to run him out of town? No, no, because bad games happen. Peyton Manning, you know how many times he did it? 5 times. He even threw 6 interceptions in one game in 2015 and got benched. But did anybody want Peyton Manning run out of town? Is anybody disputing how good he was? No. Drew Brees, 4 interceptions in a game, 3 times. John Elway, 4 times. Eli Manning, everybody's lovable Eli Manning that took down Tom Brady, did it 4 times. Jim Kelly, the great quarterback of the Buffalo Bills, he did it 2 times in his career, and 1 time was in the Super Bowl, where Jalen has played 2 Super Bowls and has shined the brightest in those 2 games. Cam Newton, who's a big hater of Jalen Hurts, had 2 games in his career where he threw 4 interceptions. I say all this, obviously, nobody looks at those quarterbacks and goes, man, they sucked because they had 4 interception games. They don't do that. You know why? Because shit happens. It's part of the game. That stuff happens. 2 of his interceptions were tipped. Is that really on the quarterback? Not all the time. I mean, he threw it into coverage that last play, and it was a great play by the defense. The other one was tipped by his own guy. Interceptions happen. They're part of the game. Especially, we're going to ridicule a guy that had 2 interceptions coming into that game and prides himself on protecting the ball. He had a bad game. I guarantee you he will never have a 5 turnover game again in his career, let alone a 4 interception game. That's it, right? So any fan that's jumping off the Hurts train, you're not real fans. You don't know what it's like to watch. You guys, the guys that are jumping off the Hurts train right now would probably wish that we still had Carson Wentz, right? They loved Carson Wentz, and Carson Wentz threw more 4 interception games or 3 interception games than any Eagle in history, probably, right? And look, I'd be remiss if I didn't add our one of our local radio stations, WIP, into this. Right now, WIP is trash media. That's what it is. I love Ike. I love Hugh. I love John Ritchie. I love the former players, but it's trash with the storylines that they're trying to promote and trying to run Jalen out here. Jalen should be benched. Let's see what Tanner McKee can do. He can't do any worse than what Jalen's doing. The Eagles are projected to draft a quarterback in the 2nd round and give Hurts the Wentz treatment. Are we serious right now? Are we serious? When we were 8-2,
Apparently.
you didn't hear anything about that. You didn't hear anything about that. So we lose 3 games straight, and that's what it's about. That's what it's about. We're trying to run him out of town. The best quarterback that we may ever see in an Eagles uniform during the best era of Eagles football, and we want to run him out of town. All because WIP is planning these storylines, and the naive Eagles fans that are younger than us that are spoiled right now, because we are a spoiled fan base for that generation that has never seen the blackout games. I got into this last night. I remember in 1989 and 1994, we couldn't watch a damn game on TV because the games wouldn't be sold out. So the network was like, nope, listen to this shit on the radio. You got to listen to it on the radio because your team sucks so bad that we don't even want to air it on TV. Correct. Nobody's buying tickets, so we're not going to get our ratings. We're going to show something else. And we would watch, I think this is how bad it was. It would be infomercials. It wouldn't even be anything major. It would be an info. It wouldn't be another game.
They wouldn't put different games on. You're right. Yeah.
No,
they wouldn't put different games on.
Correct. So for people to want to run him out of town right now after this bad of a game. Look, has he played well? I'm not apologizing for his play. I'm not apologizing for his play all season. He can play better, and he has played better. I think that's the frustrating part for everybody. We know what he's capable of. We know his potential. But all the other quarterbacks that I mentioned, their fans did not want to run them out of town after one bad game. Brady had a bad game like this every year for 5 years straight. He also won 3 Super Bowls within that time frame. So, not saying Jalen's going to win another Super Bowl anytime soon because of the way they're playing, they're not going to get there. But all I'm saying is relax.
Oh, I agree.
Bad games happen. He's going to bounce back from this. And if anybody's equipped, I saw something where somebody commented that he doesn't have the killer instinct. He's not. Are we watching the same guy? He does have a killer instinct.
After one bad game.
One bad game. That's what we start attacking this guy's credibility. We start attacking his killer instinct, his mentality. Just everybody needs to take its Xanax and or whatever the anxiety meds and antidepressant meds you want to take. Not knocking that. Do whatever you got to do, but maybe up your dose a little bit and relax a little bit, or smoke some weed. Do whatever you got to do to kind of relax and take the edge off, because all these people are just crazy. That's why I haven't listened to nothing all week, because I knew it was just going to be everybody jumping off a damn cliff. We're still 8-5. We went out. We win, 3 of the next 4. We control our own destiny. That's all it is. Yeah. Everything's right in front of us. So that's my 2 cents for this week. Leave him alone. He had a bad game. He did take accountability for it. He said he has to play better. He knew he didn't play good. So it's not like he was up there making excuses. He said, I flat out did not play good and I need to do better. Simple as that.
So a couple things on that. One, I agree 100%. I went on the record 4 times, I think, today on my podcast saying the same thing. Under no circumstance do you bench Jalen Hurts because of that game. And I heard a lot of people talking about when McNabb got benched in 2008. The situation was completely different for a couple of reasons. Yeah. One, that team was floundering. They had just come off a tie to Cincinnati, which was a terrible team, and he played like absolute crap in the first half of that Baltimore game.
Hmm.
So it needed to, and it gave him the spark. This team isn't in a position like that they need a spark in that way. I mean, but by that I mean they're 8-5, like you said. That team was like 5-6 at the time, floundering to even make the playoffs, and they still needed like the miracle of all miracles to make the playoffs that year.
Right. Yep.
Um, so Jalen Hurts gives you the best chance to win. If Tanner McKee was the guy that gives you the better chance, somebody would have offered a second or a first round draft pick, and maybe they did. And Howie's like, no, I need him as a quality backup. But those guys, Nick Sirianni knows what he has in Tanner McKee. And if he thought Tanner McKee gave him a better chance, he would have put him in 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks
Right.
ago. So to
Right.
do so now is just ridiculous. And the fact that he did take credit or accountability for it. McNabb the entire time, and I love McNabb. Like I still probably to a point drive the McNabb bus, and you're right there with me. But he never took accountability when he had bad games. Those people that are calling for Jalen Hurts to be benched right now, they don't have the makeup to survive the Donovan McNabb era. They don't have the makeup to survive the Randall Cunningham era. They would have been
Mm-mm.
begging for Randall Cunningham. He had a couple
Yep.
3 interception games.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I think as bad as Jalen, again, the fact that he said that, kudos to him for taking accountability. I mean, I saw it with my eyes. He did not play a good game. And like you said, it happens. But the fact is, when McNabb played a bad game, the Eagles were getting blown out. When Randall played a bad game, they were getting blown out. I'd be willing to bet in a lot of those games that Tom Brady and Peyton Manning and those guys threw 4 or 5 interceptions, whatever it was, they were getting blown out.
Hmm.
They took this game to overtime and were driving the ball to go in for the winning score. So
Hmm.
that to me is all you need to know about Jalen's lack of a killer instinct. If people are really saying that, it's absolutely
Yep.
asinine to even suggest that.
And look, I get it, right? I understand the new generation of Eagles fans that saw 2017 and saw that we won a Super Bowl with a backup quarterback, right? That's not that's not the norm. So stop
It's not.
expecting that a backup quarterback is going to win a Super Bowl. There are back and look, Tanner McKee's probably a great guy. He's probably going to be a solid quarterback at some point in his career. But there's a reason why he's a backup. There's a reason why he's second string. If he was that good of a quality quarterback, you know how many other teams? The New Orleans Saints, like Kellen Moore was here last year and he saw Tanner McKee. And
Yeah.
Kellen Moore didn't want him down in New Orleans. So I'm telling you, like everybody needs to relax. Like lightning in a bottle was caught in 2017. It was the perfect storm with Nick
You'll never
Foles,
see
right?
that again.
You'll never see that again in that same scenario. The only thing close to that was when the Giants did it with Jeff Hostetler. That was the only thing that was close when he came in for
Yeah.
Phil Simms. You know what I mean? In that playoff run, like that was it, right? Um, but you're never going to see that. Or when Frank Reich came in for Jim Kelly in the playoffs, and then Jim Kelly was back in the Super Bowl, right? Like
But they
you're not going to
lost.
see
They
this stuff.
lost.
They lost,
Yeah.
right? Um, but like that was lightning in a bottle. So I think everybody's like, oh, well, just put the backup in. He has to be better because look what happened in 2017. Like Tanner McKee is not Nick Foles, and this isn't
No.
that situation. So I don't want to hear that stuff. Just let it go. He's a backup for a reason. Could he be serviceable? Like they're doing this based off of 2017 and 2 games that they saw last year against shitty defenses.
Game and
I
a
might add.
half. A game and a
Yeah,
half.
yeah, against shitty defenses. So let's not act like all right. That was my rant. That was my rant
No,
on the
you're
Jalen
right
thing.
though, and I mean, under no now, if they get to the last game of the season and they lose out from here till then, they're out of the playoffs. Sure, let him play and see what he can
Audition.
do.
Yeah, let him
Right,
audition. Sure.
but even then, like so many other things would have gone wrong to get to that point anyway.
Right.
That
Right.
Tanner McKee starting, I think, would be the least of our worries.
Correct. Yep. Right there with you. Right there with you.
So I
Drives me
heard
nuts.
this today on, I think Hugh might have, somebody said it. We're riding Jalen till the wheels fall off at this point. That's my philosophy.
Absolutely.
And look, if they fall off, they fall off. At least we know.
Yep. Yep. And look,
And
if they
then,
fall off, just because they fall off this year doesn't mean that the cars broke down. You can get new wheels. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, you
you fix the offensive line, boom. And that's the other thing. People are like, oh, it's amazing what happens when he doesn't play behind a good offensive line. Yeah, no shit. As David Carr. David Carr's career ended because he didn't play behind a good offensive line. He's the most sacked quarterback in the first like 3 years of anybody's NFL career. David
right.
Carr, right? So like I bet you anybody in that family would probably tell you David Carr was a better athlete than Derek Carr, but
He
he
was.
played
He
behind
was.
the Houston Texans offensive line. So like when your offensive line's not good, look at Burrow. Burrow keeps getting injured every year because his offensive line sucks. But everybody still throws Burrow in there as one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Just amazing.
Well, just imagine if he
Amazing.
had a great offensive line.
Right. It's the slander, man. It's the Hurts slander. And look, I'm not saying that he does himself any justice with this 5 turnover game. He doesn't. But games like this happen, and
Yeah.
you best believe for the last 4 weeks of the season, if there's another quarterback out there that has a 4 interception game, I'm blasting it everywhere, and I'm making sure everybody knows that Hurts isn't the only one that's ever. Mahomes just had a 3 interception, no touchdown game, and everybody's like, yeah, it's okay because it's
It
Patrick Mahomes.
happens.
He's a future Hall
It
of Famer.
happens.
What?
Yeah.
What? So he gets a pass? Okay, got it. All right.
But he
Just
won
so we know
3
how the
Super
rules work.
Bowls.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
so we know how the rules work, right? It's what's good for one isn't always good for the other. So dumb.
He's won 3 more Super Bowls, been in the league 5 more years, but hey, don't let math get in the way of a good story.
No. Why should math matter? You know, why should math matter? Let's fit your
And
narrative. That's all it's about.
I am going to pull something out here to further your point of quarterbacks. Peyton Manning, it holds the NFL record for 6 turnovers in a game. You know who he's tied with? Another Hall of Fame quarterback who people weren't clamoring to get rid of, and that would be one Kurt Warner.
There you go. Hey, my grocery alum. I love it. I love it. Still gives a guy like me hope, even though I'm 44 and I don't bag groceries anymore. But I can still sling it.
Love it. So I guess the question then becomes, and not getting into the Raiders yet, but there's still time left. Can they turn this around? Because I feel like I saw more positives, believe it or not. I saw more positives in that game offensively. I know we just spent the past 30 minutes or so ripping how poor and shitty the offense looked, but I think I saw enough positives to think that, all right, maybe. And Jordan Mailata talked about this yesterday on his show. He said it was demoralizing. They were so deflated to lose that game the way they did because they felt that they were winning. And if they pulled that off, they felt everything else would have gone, like that people still would have talked, but it would have kind of propelled them. So can they still turn this around?
Yeah. I mean, the thing that gives me hope is the fact that they did get the running game going in some capacity, right? So there is something there that clicked. They did get a little creative in that regard where they rushed to the line and ran the fake touch push again, and it worked, right? So it makes them think. Lane Johnson will be coming back in a couple weeks, so that will help. Not this week, but I think he may be back for next week, right? In Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken.
He posted the
Well,
eyes on his Twitter.
In Washington, yeah. So I just it's a favorable schedule down the stretch, in my opinion. The fact that you play the Raiders and Washington twice, because what's Washington playing for? They're not playing for anything, and they're probably going to play without Jaden Daniels because they don't want to risk him getting injured anymore.
I heard he was out for the season anyway.
He probably should be if he's not, because he fell on the ground the other day and hurt his elbow again. So like it seems like every time he takes a hit. Now with you're in December, that ground's going to be hard as a rock. So
ice hard as a rock.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do think that they can turn it around. Plus, look, the defense is still playing at a high caliber, and they're getting people back off the injured list, right? So like we still don't know what's going on with Jalen Carter. They haven't talked about any of it. We don't know when he's coming back, if he's coming back. Like I can't stand that stuff, and it still drives me nuts. But look, Ty Robinson played, or Ty Robinson. I don't even know how to say his name because he doesn't play as much. But he played and he got some snaps, and it seemed like he helped get some pressure. I mean, he's a big boy, so you know he Jordan Davis played like a complete beast. He played like an animal. Um, and N'Kobe Dean did N'Kobe Dean things again. Like he blows up the running back on a blitz and then he misses a tackle. It's like, oh, how can you
Consistency
do
is
that,
key.
dude? And then you do it again and you make the tackle. I'm like, come on, man. Like, and look, we saw Jahad Campbell sighting. That was good. That was impressive. It seemed like Vic's trying to work it in where he's like, all right, we're gonna alternate series to see who plays better and like earn it. See who's hungrier. And
Which, I mean,
I like it.
that's the best way to go.
I
It's
like
like a
it. Get these guys
platoon,
hungry.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
get them competing with each other though to see who's going to play better. You play better, you get more time. You don't play better, you don't get time. That's how it works. It's no different
yeah.
than when we played in high school and stuff like that. Like the now you know as well as I do. There's some politics that go into high school sports, but yeah, regardless, what's supposed to happen is the person that plays better
The best player
plays
is going to
more.
play.
Right,
Yeah,
and that's how it should work. Right, and I was encouraged to see that the defense played well, and look, Marcus Epps coming back kind of did help Reed Blankenship in that back end of the
again,
secondary,
Reed
and
played a great game too. Like
played a great
I
game. Yep,
personally think that was the best game I've seen from the defense front to back all year. And it's a shame that the offense let them down the way they did, because I felt
yep,
like that was a championship level defense. And they came out, and to everybody out there that's saying, oh, well, it's only because Justin Herbert had one hand. That had nothing to do with it, because they had so much pressure on him. He could have had three hands and still been under pressure all night. And it didn't
yep,
phase him one bit. He was their leading rusher. So it's not like
yeah,
he was
and let's.
back there playing scared.
I'm just getting ready to say that, and there was a couple of times where he looked a little. He didn't look Jared Goff frightened, but like he looked like he was keeping an eye on his hand and keeping his hand like out of the way so it didn't get
Well,
hurt.
because he
Which
knew they were coming at him. Like
right,
they were coming
right.
at him every possession. It seemed like.
Well, and you and I were on a couple group chats where somebody made a comment that Justin Herbert torched them with only one hand. 130 yards rushed or 130 yards passing and 60 rushing yards. Yeah, that's torching you. That's torching you. The defense played out of their mind and kept the Eagles in the game. The offense let the defense down, and
Right.
that's
And
been
what
the
it
that's been the MO all year.
and their that long play they had in the first quarter, that was on a little screen pass, wasn't it?
It was.
Or was that a
It
run?
was.
So most of those yards came on one play, a 60-yard chunk play.
Yep. Yep. Look,
So
they pretty much shut down McConkey. Quentin
they did.
Johnston, they shut him down, and Keenan Allen, they shut him down. I think they combined, I think they had like, I don't know, 7 receptions out of them. I mean, he threw to the running backs a lot.
Yeah, and I
So,
do before we get off the defense, I want to give a shout out to, because we've given him a lot of crap this year, but he did play well, and maybe part of that was because of all the pressure they had on Herbert all game from the line. But I want to give a shout out to Adoree Jackson. I think it's the first time all season when I was going through and we were making the notes, we didn't have cornerback two as one of the talking
yeah.
points. And
Yeah.
not only did he not get blown up, I thought he actually legitimately played well in coverage, and they have good receivers. So shout out to you,
Yeah.
Adoree.
Yeah, shout
I'm
out to Dory. He played probably his best game as an Eagle. And I again, not taking anything away from Dory, but I think having Marcus Epps back there in the secondary, a veteran back there to kind of help make some of these calls and put people in the right position, that helps. You know what I
absolutely
mean? That definitely helps. So, but yeah, he definitely played well. And look, I'm not ready to say it's a strength and like, I need to see more consistency and see it happen again. But you got a good week this week to get your confidence about you because you're playing
do it again.
the JV Las Vegas Raiders with Kenny Pickett as quarterback. So
But yeah. All right. So before we get into that, like I said, I wanted to give Adoree because we're tough on him, but I felt it was fair and he needed to get credit for playing a good game, no matter what the reasoning was. We'll
yep,
we'll just take it and let's build on it. But I
yep,
guess again, we do have to look at the picks from last week, and once again, not good. Thankfully, Saquon saved us both. And Dallas Goedert had a good. He just like didn't go to him in the second half, but had a good first half. So I
He
got
did.
those yards, and then the sloppiness definitely helped you out because I think the defense had 3 turnovers total in that game.
They did. They did. They should have had 4. But
They
yeah,
should have.
they had 3. They had 3.
So that brings and you called it last week, Notre Dame, but I have just as many wins as I do ties now. 4-5-4, and you're 5-4-4. So still anybody's game. I control my destiny though.
There you go. See, you don't have your family calling for your head and trying to trade you out of town after one bad week, right? I mean, it is what it is.
Ah,
Well,
for
maybe.
other reasons they are, but
Yeah, I was going to
that's
say
another story.
not because of your picks, but for other reasons.
All right, so let's take a look at the Raiders. Are they the worst team in the league? Are they worse than the Jets?
Ooh. Um, I don't think they're worse than the Jets because at least on defense they still got Max Crosby. Like, who do the Jets have?
True.
Like you look at the Jets defense and can you name any? Can As a casual fan, can you name anybody? They traded
On the
Sauce
defense?
Gardner and Quentin Williams away, so like I can't name anybody right now.
No.
No, that's right. Mechie's on offense. So yeah, I was thinking like who did the Eagles trade for? Like trade them, but no, that was Mechie. I mean, actually a starting
Yeah.
receiver for them since Garrett Wilson's out. So that should tell you all you need to know. But yeah, I think the Raiders are the second worst team. From that standpoint. But it's still. I mean, this is probably a get right week. Hopefully, this is a get right week,
It
and
has
what
to
they
be.
need. It's what the doctor ordered for the way the Eagles are playing right now.
The only thing that scares me is I feel like we've been saying this for
I
3
know.
weeks now. First it was the Bears, then it was the Chargers. Now,
Yep.
this has to be it. This is like Alabama scheduling like Texas Southern Baptist Christian College
Well,
right before the Auburn game.
it's actually like Notre Dame complaining that they didn't get into the playoff and look at their schedule where they played 3 teams that were 2-10. So
Yeah.
you know, take that into consideration, do what you want with it, but that's not going to help your case. Yeah, I won 10 games straight. Yeah, but you played the Raiders for 10 games straight. Like that, you should win 10 games straight.
Right.
Just saying.
No, and I
Just saying.
mean, listen, all the Notre Dame slander can slander away. I hate Notre Dame.
Can't stand them.
I don't hate
Can't stand
you
them.
if you're a Notre Dame fan. I just hate your team.
The jury's out. I got to know who you are first. I got to know who you are. I question you a little bit. I question you a little bit. It doesn't mean that I don't like you, but I question you a little bit being a Notre Dame fan.
Yeah, but I mean, I think with this game, the way that the defense has been playing, minus the Bears game, like they've had like 4 or 5 good games in a row. Like even the Cowboys game, I think they played solid. All the offense needed to do was kick another field goal or score another touchdown, and that game plays completely different. I mean, I don't think, and poor Ashton Genetti, like
Genty. Yeah, Genty.
Genty, I wrote
Not
it wrong.
Marty Jannetty
I'm
over here.
I'm
Not
thinking
Marty
Marty
Jannetty.
Jannetty, but um, I had high hopes for him, and that team is just
Yeah.
ridiculous.
No, I'm with you, man. I
But
had high hopes for him too. I drafted him in the first round of fantasy, our big fantasy league, and as my rookie, I was like, oh, I'll keep him for next year. I can't waste a first round pick on him next year with that
no,
offense unless something
and
changes.
next year will be the year he breaks out. But
I know. Yeah, well, that'll be my luck. That'll be my luck.
I mean, between that and then. Uh, I don't know. Like Kenny Pickett starting, like we saw what he could do. I
Yes, we did.
watched enough and follow enough Steelers games though to know that he's very inconsistent. And with a team like the Raiders, who they don't really have much on offense, I can't see him coming in and beating us.
This would be the way that the Eagle season goes, is that Kenny Pickett comes
It
in
would.
and throws for 300 yards somehow and outplays Jalen, and then that just adds more fuel to the narrative
Oh, we
of,
kept the wrong
they should have,
quarterback.
yeah, exactly. So I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Eagles are going to come out pissed off. extremely pissed off because they made too many mistakes. And this wasn't a penalty driven game. This was just they turned the ball over. And so I don't think
Yeah.
that's going to happen against the Raiders. Um, I think they're going to come out and really be pissed off and want to send a message. That's what I think is going
No,
to happen.
I think so too. How do you think who do you think gets, do they introduce the defense first this game?
I think they have to. Yeah.
They
The
did
only
the
reason that
offense for the Bears.
that's why I think they try to alternate it each time. The only reason that I think they may do the offense, and I could see them doing the offense, is just because of all the clamoring all week, just to get everybody behind Jalen. But the problem is with stupid millennial Eagles fans that are younger than us, they might boo him.
They might. That's
So that's why I think it's a no brainer. It has to be the defense.
no. I always wonder that, but yeah, I mean, because I will say the despite what happened with the Cowboys, he got a loud cheer. Like
Hmm.
everybody was behind him. But I also think the people that go to the games most of the time are not the same people that call into the radio stations, who don't post on Twitter, who kind of understand, um, that are like us, that it's like, listen, it's hard to defend you when you throw 4 interceptions and a fumble. Like it's hard
Yeah.
when you make these poor decisions. But yeah, I mean, I still think you got to go defense.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer for me. It has to be defense because the defense has been your shining light over the last 3 weeks, really. All things considered, even though you squandered the Dallas game away, the offense didn't help you there either. So yeah, I think it's defense. Defense will get hyped up, and and I think they defer if they win the toss. I think they put defense on first and just kind of tee off on the Raiders. I think that's
Oh, I
their.
think
I
so.
think Vic's
Yeah,
just going to give them fits. I think that's his game plan. It's going to, as you said before, you said last week about the remember the Titans line. I think Vic's going to come out and say they don't gain another yard the rest of this game. Like I think that's how it's going to be. Like we
that
want to send a message and say, yes, I know it's the Raiders, but we held the Raiders to 70 total yards the whole day. You know?
right. Yeah. And I mean, I'm kind of disappointed because like I feel the defense did come out and play a Coach Yost type game where like
Hmm.
those guys they're like, this defense is tough, but offense couldn't pick it up. But
Nope.
anyway, what do you got for 3 keys?
So three keys. First one, forget about last week. Forget about last week. It's on to this week. Don't let it linger in your head. Don't worry about it. Learn from it and move on. What does Jalen always say? You don't lose, you learn, right? So we didn't lose, we learned, and we've learned the last 3 weeks. So let's let's learn from it. Let's make the adjustments we need to make. Let's not play tight because of what happened last week. Let that shit
Right.
go. It's in the past. Don't change up the way you play and go, well, I'm not going to try to make that throw because I don't want to throw an interception. Don't do that. Make the throws that you need to make and take what the defense gives you, and you'll be fine. That's the first one. Second one, it's going to be very similar to the last 3 weeks. Very similar to like the last 8 weeks, really. Offense needs to get on track and it needs to be consistent. I need to see consistency. I don't need to see 50-50 from run pass ratio, but I need to see more runs and more consistency instead of, well, this drive we threw three and out. Like that was it. We threw 3 times and we were three and out. Like run the ball. I don't care if you're predictable on first down and you're running the ball if it's successful or if you're setting it up for the play action pass. But you got to do something instead of like what they're
Right.
doing because it's just not consistent right now. And that's the only way to get on track. Um, you obviously have the talent, you have the capability of doing it. There's been flashes all year of it. So you just need to string it together. Um, and then the third and final key is look, the defense just needs to continue to pressure. And I think if you pressure Kenny Two Gloves in a cold game, you're gonna force some turnovers, you're gonna force some fumbles. You already know he can't grip a football, like he can't palm it. So like you can knock it out of his
Right.
hands pretty good. So I think the Eagles know that from going into from playing against him, and they know what kind of pressure they can give him. But I think Vic's going to scheme up some things and really confuse him. And I think they're just like I said, they're going to pin their ears back and tee off on that offense, man.
And that's been Kenny's MO his entire career. Just he'll make a mistake. It's just a matter
Yeah,
of when and how many and at what
yeah,
spot in the game.
yeah. I mean, you look at his stats. I think his stats when he was in Pittsburgh, where he has more interceptions than touchdowns. So
Yeah, I think so.
he'll throw the ball in the trouble, and I can see the defense having a big game.
Yeah, they're going to need to. My first one, I got clean up the mistakes, and that's drops, turnovers, penalties. Like I feel like since that Dallas game, it's all they've done is played undisciplined, mistake-filled football.
Yep.
The complete opposite of what they've done. So just clean it up. Like you're going to make mistakes, but you can't go to the farthest degree with it. No 14 penalties, no 5 turnovers. Like just play a consistently clean game. And I think against a team like the Raiders, that's all really you need to do. Like if you give them
Yes.
any hope that they're in that game, because they're trying to play out the string at this point. Like maybe the young guys are going to try to play, but if you give them any kind of hope, you're done.
Yep. Yep. I agree.
Um, Two, I kind of similar to yours. I need to get them to establish the run because the one thing they can do is rush the passer. Max Crosby is good. The rest of that defensive line is good. So you're going to have to establish the run. The best way to slow down a pass rush is to run right at them. It's what they used to do for years against why can't I think of his name now? Michael Parsons. Like
Hmm.
Michael Parsons used to get frustrated. He would get have his games and plays against the Eagles, but they would run right at him and just completely neutralize him. That's what they need to do. Saw glimpses of it last week, so let's continue that momentum. And
Yep.
then on defense, get after the quarterback for the same reasons you said. Kenny's going to make mistakes. I wrote this out because I actually have Smith or Kenny, but um, that was before I knew Smith wasn't going to play. But get after him. Like I work with a guy who's a Steelers fan, and he said, "I can't believe you guys are actually going to have to start Kenny Two Gloves, but good luck with that." That's what he's known for is making mistakes. So make him make mistakes and get after him, but contain. Like it's not one of the three keys, but I think this should go without saying as my boy Belichick would say, do your job. Don't let
Hmm.
him run. I thought they did, for the most part, even though he was the leading rusher, I thought they did a good job kind of containing Herbert last week. And even when he didn't break many large, huge chunk runs. They were able to tackle him a few times. So I would almost take the exact same game plan that you had and just add a few more wrinkles to it and keep it going.
Yeah. And I mean, look, shout out to that defense that bounced back after the Bears gashed them for over 200 yards rushing. You know, they
Yeah.
said we ain't letting that happen again. And look, that's a Harbaugh driven team where their identity is smash mouth football. They're going to run the ball and pass secondary, and they couldn't run that successfully against the Eagles. So shout out to them for bouncing back and making the adjustments. Now, if the offense can make the adjustments to defense, then maybe we just let Vic be the offensive coordinator too. Let him call both.
Why not?
I
I mean,
mean,
he's already
I
sitting up
still
there. Like he can see
that's
it.
what I mean. He's already seeing what's happening, and like I don't understand how when you're going up against that defense in practice, how are you not more successful offensively? Because you're going up against a pretty damn good
Right.
defense. Like, how are you not more successful? I'm not saying the Eagles have the best defense in the league like last year, but like they're a pretty solid defense when it comes to that stuff usually. So like I don't know. It just boggles my mind, man.
Things that make you go, hmm.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Mm.
All right. And then is it my turn to go first this week for the
Yep,
score?
yep.
All right. Could this game be a 38-10 game? Absolutely. Do I see that happening? I hope. But I think we see a better performance from the offense. I still don't think it's going to be quite where we want it to be, but I think the defense is going to shut them down. I got it 21-10 Eagles.
Okay. All
Just
right.
enough. But like I could it be 38-10? Absolutely. I can't put it out there yet until I see it.
I got 31-6. I don't think they let the Raiders in the
Nice.
end zone at all. I think they hold them to 2 field goals, and I think the Eagles do score 30 points. Not 38, but I think they get 31. I think 31-6 is what I'm going with.
Nice. I I would love that. 31-6, come home, be happy, and look
Yep.
ahead to Washington, but I can't do it yet until I actually see it.
Yep. Look, I'm not. I haven't picked against them all year, so my record's 8-5. But I could see this one. The stars are aligning, and I think they don't like losing. And I think this is the perfect game for them to just kind of rip the Band-Aid off. And I feel bad for the Raiders because I think the Raiders are going to get the brunt of that.
Good. Everybody likes the Raiders anyway. They beat us in Super Bowl 15.
Yeah, the hell with them. The hell with them.
Still bitter about that. Shout out Kenny King. Um, uh, so player of the game, maybe one of these days it's going to happen. And I feel like I've been saying it for 6 weeks. Saquon's going to be the player of the game. I think he's going to get going off with the run. I think it's going to open up the pass. I do think Jalen's going to play a much better game. And I was this close to picking him, but I think Saquon's going to do some Saquon things this week and be the player of the game.
I got Jalen as mine. I think Jalen bounces back and shuts everybody up this week. I'm not expecting a 300-yard game by any means because I think, to your point, I think Saquon's going to do some damage, and the run game's going to do what it is meant to do this year. But I think Jalen has a very good game. It shuts everybody up. Not so much the is that what you all wanted to see type thing, but I think he has a solid game and shuts all the critics up. And then I can't wait to hear how these fans are going to backtrack and be like, "Yeah, that's my quarterback. That's my quarterback." Nah,
See?
shut up.
See?
Yeah, shut up. Yeah, I don't want to hear that. Where's Tanner McKee at? You softies. It's ridiculous.
Oh, man. All right, fantasy stars. Who do we got?
So I got Saquon, 125 yards and a tutty. I think he
Ooh,
gets over the 100-yard mark with a touchdown. And look, I don't know if it's because they've just been feeding him the ball and he's in a groove, but I got AJ with 75 yards and a touchdown. I don't think he drops another one like what he did. So I think Jalen drops one in there to him. I think Jalen has 3 touchdowns. Um, I'm going to go 3 total touchdowns on this one, not just 3 throwing. I think he has 3 total
right.
touchdowns. And the biggest key there, he has no turnovers. Just throwing that out there. And then, look, defense is going to continue the momentum of last week, and they're going to have 3 turnovers against the Raiders. They're going to force Kenny 2 gloves into wearing different kind of gloves to make sure he holds onto the ball more because he's either going to throw 3 picks, he's going to have a fumble and 2 picks, but there's going to be 3 turnovers by the Raiders against his defense. So that's how I see things playing out, and it's going to be pressure, man. It's going to be. I could see Vic dialing up blitzes upon blitzes upon blitzes to just keep just teeing off on these guys.
And so usually he doesn't blitz, but the fact that he's seeing that it's successful and is making the adjustments and saying, screw it, let's do it. That to me, if it's why it's so frustrating with the offense, because it's like this old guy who is so set in his ways sees that, hey, if I blitz N'Kobe Dean or Cooper DeJean, they're disruptive and it gets everybody else going. So I'm going to do it more. Oh, we can run off tackle and it works. Maybe we should run behind Jordan Mailata.
It's
I don't know.
amazing.
It's just it
Like
blows my
I just
mind.
he's 6'8". He's 6'8", 340. Why wouldn't you run behind him? Like why wouldn't you run behind him?
Great
You
question.
brought it up. You brought it up. Sorry, I went off on a
I know,
tangent.
I know, I know. I'm just no. It was more of a shout out and giving Vic a pat on the back and saying, "Good
Yeah,
shit." Like
yeah,
you're not. You can teach an old dog new tricks.
yeah.
Apparently,
You see what works and you stick with it. It's crazy. It's crazy.
imagine that.
Like
I
he's run that
also have
N'Kobe. Hold
Saquon.
on, he's run that N'Kobe Dean blitz up the middle on the quarterback. He's run that like 4 straight weeks, and the teams can't do anything about it. He blows up the running back, and
No,
like N'Kobe's great at it. So Vic's like, oh, I found something that works. I'm gonna dial it up. They don't know when I'm dialing up,
yeah,
but they should
the
know
Kobe.
it's coming. It's coming at some point. I'd love to hear the play
Meanwhile, the
call on that
Kobe's
and what they
eyes are
call
like
that.
this big.
Oh, yeah. And God, dude, he comes 40 miles an hour in there. That running back's like, oh shit. Like that's exactly what's happening. Crazy. All right, sorry. Go ahead.
Love it.
Your fantasy stars.
No, it's fine. I got Saquon 100 yards and a touchdown. Like I said, I think this is the breakout game. I think one of the I could see him doing 125 like you, but I picked 100. I think one of them is going to be a 30+ yard run too. Like
hmm
I don't know if it's
hmm
going to be early to kind of set the tone, get the crowd into it. Because if he goes first quarter 30, 40 yards for a touchdown, game over. Forget about it.
Oh,
Like, and I think the
it's
offense rolls
gonna be a
from that
long day.
point on. Then,
Yep.
yeah,
Completely agree. You imagine they start off the game with that's similar to the Washington NFC Championship with a 65-yard
uh,
run for a touchdown.
yeah,
Curtains.
game
It's gonna be a
over.
long day. We'll be out by halftime.
At that point, I'm changing my fantasy to 200 yards.
Love it.
I also think AJ is going to score. I think I think we saw a very humble AJ Brown during that interview. Um, and it was like it was just he had a different vibe to him, and I think he's going to come out. He might not drop another pass the rest of the season after that. So I think he gets an anytime touchdown. I think Devontae, though, is going to be the receiver that gets over 100 yards this week. I think
Okay.
because everybody's going to be expecting them to go to AJ to kind of make up for it. So I got Devontae going over 100 yards, but AJ with the touchdown. Because, like I said, I just don't see him dropping another pass all season. Like I think
Yeah,
he's
for
like
sure.
this. I don't think he wants out of Philly, and I think he's realizing like, shit, they might be thinking about shipping me out. So I'm going to ball out and be a good soldier and do whatever, even if it
Keep my
means
mouth
doing a
shut. Yeah.
dance with Jalen Hurts.
Yep. Yep.
um, and then I also have the defense having a big game. I have them with 3 sacks and 2 turnovers. I think
Okay.
they're just gonna. Yeah, I was like going back and forth on it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going all because I can see it happening. Kenny is going to turn the ball over, and they had 7 sacks last week. And I don't think the Raiders' offensive line is as good as the Chargers. They might have 10.
They
Who
might.
knows?
They might. They might. And I'm here for it. I'm absolutely here for it. I would love every second of it. I would love every sack that they get.
I almost said 3 sacks, 2 turnovers, and a touchdown, but I'm like, all right, I can't get greedy here. But I wouldn't be surprised if they take one to the house either.
I can see that, or a fumble recovery for a touchdown, something like that. Yeah, I can definitely
Something.
see that. Yep. Yep. Yep.
Just something to get like the crowd's going to be ready to explode like that.
One way
Like
or
you
another.
know from going to games. Yeah, well, yeah, but I mean, we haven't had much to cheer about the past few home games, so it's like want to sing the song, want to get up on third down, and I think this is like you said, it's the cupcake week. It's Sam Houston State Tech,
Yeah.
community
Yeah.
college, whatever.
Yeah. It's Stoutland Tech.
uh,
That's what we're playing.
on that note, all right,
Yeah.
brother, where can everybody find you?
So you can find me on Twitter, Instagram at KyleMont16. You can catch me on the Clashing Conferences podcast every week. We do a members pod over there. It's a fun time. We banter back and forth. I had a rant this week about not only Jalen, but Notre Dame taking their ball and going home and crying that they didn't make the playoffs. So that was a fun little debate I had. Shout out to Patty. And then you can also catch me on the State of Kentucky report. I'm a Kentucky basketball fan, so it's been a down year for me in all sports. In all sports. So there's been a lot of ranting on these podcasts, and it's been a lot of fun. It's my therapy, and you can catch me whenever you want, wherever your podcasts are. I'm there. I'm available, but this is obviously where my heart is. This is our bread and butter and what really drives us. So this is the most fun one for sure.
Love it. And then you can find me every Monday through Friday, this day in Philly sports history. Had a pretty epic rant on Tuesday morning, laying into the Eagles. I've toned it back and calmed down, but that was just the pure emotion of the frustration and being tired from that game. On all social media at Philly Jimbo. And just one thing, it is the holiday season. And and if you listen to my other podcast, you've heard this already, but Tyrod Taylor said this the other day in an interview when they were asking him about, I think it was Tyrod, but a backup quarterback they asked him about his future. And he was like, I'm not thinking about that, just living in the moment. So he was like, tomorrow is not born yet. Yesterday is dead, so I'm living in the moment. So it's the holidays, live in the moment. Don't miss out on the moments, worrying about what happened, what's going to happen. Everybody has their issues, so just focus and make it an enjoyable holiday. And that's my words of wisdoms for the week. I really like the message. That's why I wanted to put it out there again. But I like that. Tomorrow's dead, or yesterday's dead. Tomorrow's not born yet. So just live in the moment.
There you go. Love it, man. Love it. Look at that. Words to live by. You know, it's like the old NBC thing, the more you know. Dun, dun, dun,
The more
dun.
you know.
Like, there you go. There you go. Wise words from Jim
And
Montgomery.
Ashton Genty, not Marty Jannetty. Ashton
Not
Genty.
Marty Jannetty. Hopefully they super kick his ass like Shawn Michaels did to Marty Jannetty, though. I'd be all
Throw
about
him through the
that.
barbershop.
Throw him through the barbershop glass. There you go. There you go.
All right. On that note, we
Love
will
it.
be back next week, week 16. The Washington Commodores probably will be a day earlier next week because next week's a Saturday game. The good
Crazy.
old Saturday 5 p.m. game.
Good old NFL just monopolizing every game, every day of the week, going to every country
Every
possibly
time
can.
slot.
It's crazy. 3 o'clock on Black Friday. Are you shitting me? Like, what is that about?
Yeah.
What is that?
5 p.m. on a Saturday. Like,
At least it's going to be on an actual network. It's not going to be on like, oh, you have to download this platform in order to watch it on Saturday at 5 o'clock. Like, look, I will say, going back to it, I don't know if you saw on Monday night with the Monsters Inc. Like, how are you going to go up against a 6'8" like monster? Like the Eagles had no chance in that game anyway. I don't know why they put us up against that defense. Like that's why we
Sully.
lost. I think the fix
They
was
cheated.
Oh, and before we head off, I do have to throw this out there. I know I have this black hat on and I'm taking my hat off, but let me put my tinfoil hat on real quick, and throw this conspiracy out there. Black Friday happened, and guess what else dropped the Thursday before Black Friday? Hard Knocks. You can't have Hard Knocks happen and the Eagles run away with the division. You already have two teams that are out of it, right? So maybe just throwing it out there, they put a little bug in the Eagles' ear, like, hey, take your foot off the pedal a little bit and make this Hard Knocks, the last few weeks of the season meaningful. Because if the Eagles wrap up the division by Black Friday, what else? Well, why are people going to tune in to watch?
No storylines.
No storyline at all. Just throwing it out there. There's my
Listen,
tinfoil hat
I've seen
conspiracy.
I've heard crazier conspiracies than that actually be true. So why not? Why not?
The timing is very, very crazy. I did see something else since real quick before we get off. It's not Eagles related, but speaking of conspiracies, and I think you heard one of my rants about Tom Brady cloning his dog. Well, they said, well, the timing of it and everything when he cloned his dog and did all that when he got his dog, it's eerily similar. Maybe he cloned his DNA, and that's where Drake May came from. Just saying, that's a conspiracy that New England fans are throwing out there. Just saying.
Can we see some baby pictures of Drake May?
Yeah, just throwing it out there. Just throwing it out there. Love it.
On that note, I think it's a good way to end it.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, everybody,
Absolutely.
have a great week. Big game this week. Do or die, I think, at this point. If they lose this game, forget about it. So we'll be back next week celebrating a victory. Finally. It's been a while.
Yes, sir. Go Birds.
But on that note, go Birds.
Go Birds.
And I can never get it to
Dallas
stop.
sucks.